Welcome back to the Lobster Talks, where we have the most important conversations with the best YC founders. Today's guest is Prady Modukuru, the founder of Sync, who's making videos as easy to edit as a Google Doc. So imagine never having to re-record again. If you stumble or if you want to change the content, you just modify it in post-production, change the movement of the lips, and that's what Sync is building. So Prady, welcome to the show.
That was a great intro. Thank you.
I'm trying my best. Is it real or did I change it after the fact? That's the question. So please introduce yourself and Sync. Let's dive into what you're building.
Cool. I'm Prady. I am the CEO and one of the co-founders at Sync. You nailed it. We train lip syncing models. So the idea is you give us a video, you give us an audio, and then we can realign the content itself to make someone look like they're saying something different. So fix things in post-production. I mean, the main use case has traditionally been translated video with perfect lip sync. Like imagine just watching your favorite creator, speaking your language and also looking like they're fluent. So it drives engagement up. That's been kind of like the core area so far.
I want to double down on that because that's the main obvious use case, but also I think you're trying to push a lot into this other use case that I mentioned, where any content creator, and there's many more YouTubers than Hollywood movies, can just re-record and change something. I remember an example that's so cool where you just show up and you talk about, I wanted to bike to the office today, but instead it was raining, and so I just took the taxi, and then you change entirely, and it's like the new product release. I see a use case here, and you've been seeing a lot of growth there as well, right?
I think that's the biggest area that we're focused on next. It's how do you take over post? Like if you can control content, the actual content, like I can cut, I can trim, I can edit. You could do that for decades. But once you record something, it was just stuck. So if you can edit what someone says is the first step, but then how do you edit how they say it? Like how do you change their expression? Like how do you change their gestures? You're always gonna have, especially as an artist or like as someone making some kind of creative content, you're never gonna be exactly happy with what you capture. So how can we give a little more control in post?
Yeah, that's so cool. That's it's stuck forever, and you unstuck the content.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go any further, there's a reminder here on my notes to ask you to subscribe, because I always forget to do it. I'm remembering to do it now, so subscribe, give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you very much. So Sync started as a research lab, or started as, not something really applicable, just some theory at the beginning. Can you take us back and tell me when's the moment you realize, well, this research has actually almost infinite applications in real life?
I actually would disagree with that.
Perfect.
So Prade and Redefine, they're the two original authors on this paper called Wave to Lip. Like they met while they were doing their masters. I met the team later, but they were working on video translation. So when you're working on video translation and you're thinking about audio visual alignment, you can't actually perfect translating a video without realigning the lip movements. Yeah. Which is why they actually started with this real world use case and then worked backwards. Now, everything else that came after this is okay, now you can fix things. And now you have Grammarly for video, right? All of the applications came after they released the model. And then for us, when we trained new versions of it and we had a couple demos that went viral, we saw people using it in ways that we couldn't even, we had ideas, but we didn't think other people had those ideas. So I think that's the fun part about a core capability is you don't really know. You tend to underestimate people's creativity.
You're in the creativity space, and so you release something and you don't even know what's gonna happen with it. You touched on something that I've seen time and time again with some of the best companies that I've seen, invested in, or just watched, is you don't even realize when you're building something that it's actually bigger than you think. It's actually bigger than yourself, and you have this sort of market pull that you didn't even realize was possible. It really becomes bigger than yourself, and that's something we could say that's happening with Sync right now. You're growing at an extremely fast pace. Just to set the pace, you've started in early 24 and you did YC then. Mm-hmm. We're mid 25, and the market pull has been insane. Of course, you've released and built new models that are much better than back then. How does it feel? First of all, I'm guessing it's pretty awesome, but it's probably also chaotic. And how do you navigate that where it's just so much bigger than you ever anticipated?
I think it's bigger than you think, but you have a gut feeling, which is why, like, you have a gut feeling that it's going to be just as big as it ends up being. And it's about really following for me at least, it's like following my curiosity. I can never think my way into thinking, oh, this market is going to be huge, because the market doesn't actually exist yet. But if you're playing with these tools, like, you're at the frontier, you start to understand what are the limitations of the things that exist today. What do I wish that I could do? And then once you build for yourself and you think, oh my God, I just solved something for myself that's really cool. There's a lot of people out there that also have that same problem. It's you got to follow your gut, and it's kind of like a weird advice, but I can only speak for my experience, and just being curious and being at the frontier is exploration. Like, no one knows what's really going to happen. Just follow your gut and figure it out. That's it.
That's very interesting. I would be thinking, it was not my first intuition that you'd be solving for yourself first, but you are, and that's bringing new use cases for yourself and for others that you didn't even think about.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I've been really impressed with you as a founder, and of course it's a reflection on the entire team, is how fast you guys are shipping. That's why I'm so excited about Sync, and of course the growth of the company is reflecting of that as well. Do you think, in terms of cause and effect, is you guys shipping fast a function of the market pull and you sort of have to keep up? Or do you think because you guys are building so quickly and you have this sense of urgency and shipping new features so quickly, that's also why the market pull is so strong? How do those two imbricate?
In the market we live in today, if you don't have speed, you don't have the market. So you have, we have to ship fast, but it's also, it's just like a natural progression of the things. Like we ship, we learn, and if you learn, then you can ship something else, right? Like the more the more users that we get, the more users that we get, the more use cases that we see, the more excited we are about like what's next, right? How do we keep pushing the boundary? Shipping fast just feels like, we're just doing the things that we need to do and just getting into production. And obviously, like, with LLMs, like, we can do a lot with a very small team, which helps a lot with speed. Like, it helps a lot with speed. Just staying very lean and having every person very focused on like a large area that they can actually accomplish, be very agentic themselves, like solve problems one at a time. Like, you create these systems that just compound, and the faster we build, the more we grow. We haven't done any paid acquisition, like we just grow organically, which I need to figure that part out. But it's good. Like, people want to try new things, and that's how you get people's attention. That's it.
It's interesting because we're just talking about shipping fast, but I'm thinking of the viewer thinking, well, everyone's shipping fast. Everyone wants to ship fast. Mm-hmm. And I've invested in more than 100 YC companies in my life so far, and everyone is trying to ship fast. But again, Sync is probably one of the fastest companies to ship. And on top of that, you're sort of, maybe the way I'm going to say it is not exactly how you would define it, but you're sort of built on top of a research lab. And so my question is twofold. One is, how do you actually ship faster than anyone else? What's the secret? You've mentioned already bits of the answer, I guess, of lean team, people are have agentic and responsible for whole areas, but is there something else? Because everybody wants to ship fast, but most teams actually don't ship that fast.
Yeah.
And the second question, the follow-up question, is how do you articulate shipping super quickly with a research lab that by definition is less time sensitive because it takes the time that it takes to do research?
Research, we are a research lab. We're also a product company. Yeah. Like, we have to ship research, we ship product. We also are a content company, so we ship content.
I want to talk about that as well in a minute. Yeah. So
we got a lot going on, but to me it's like natural. Like, if you're just, you're not shipped until it's in prod and people are using it. So you just define what success is for whatever you're working on. And if you don't have a sense of urgency, like for one, it's a sense of curiosity. It just means we're all obsessed. Like everyone on the team, we're obsessed with what we do, like beyond obsessed. It's probably a problem at some point, but it's good. Like
it is.
We enjoy the things that we do. We like working with each other. So that combined with like we were out at dinner pretty late last night, but we met at we woke up at 5 a.m. because we had an outage and we had to figure it out. But like we're constantly just making things work. I think culture is probably, if you're asking like how do you ship fast, just focus on the culture, because if people want to be around each other and they have a sense of responsibility and they actually care about the mission and they care about the customer, then the natural tendency is like, oh my God, I have to make this thing happen for this person. And you just keep doing that over and over again. That's it. I think culture is actually, the most important thing.
All right. Well, yeah, it makes sense. But again,
like tactically?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of people watching this and trying to apply this to themselves. And so, culture is great. Yes, if you have some tactical stuff, happy to get into them.
Set deadlines.
Yeah.
Like set a deadline. Like this is a feature that's going to ship, and also what is the success criteria for it, right? Like you ship something that you committed to this shipping then, and what is a successful ship? Like how many people are whatever it is. Like easiest thing is how many people are using it. Yeah. But for ML it's a little bit difficult because sometimes there's like other metrics involved that you got to think about. Engineering too. Just set deadlines. I mean, and then it's not about calling people out. It's just someone committed to something publicly, and then they commit to something publicly again and over again. How many times do you actually hit that goal?
How do you set deadlines? Because I think you set very short deadlines and you actually abide by them. You ship on time. Or for all that I know, maybe sometimes you don't, but it's not public, right? But when that's, again, pretty simple. People are like, okay, yeah, sure, set a deadline. Do you set a deadline that is going to be hard to get? It's an aggressive deadline?
Be ambitious, right? Yeah. Like, just be ambitious. I mean, if you're an ambitious person, then naturally you're going to set ambitious goals. Yeah. So, if you're an ambitious person, then set the ambitious goal and just make sure you hit it. That's it. Yeah. I
can feel all of this ambition and sort of hunger in the Sync team because you guys just relentlessly pursue it. And then every time you reach something, you're just dreaming bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's very, for me, it's very inspirational to watch you guys do that. Let's talk about content because you guys are extremely good with content. That's, a big part of my strategy as well as a fund. That's what we're doing here. And to, be top of mind to all of YC founders out there who say, oh, we've seen Prady on the podcast. It was great. Also potentially to show to investors what I'm doing, what some of my portfolio companies are doing. So content is key, and you guys are doing content extremely well. But also what I'm saying, it's sort of disappointing to me is it's not the majority of startups, whether it's YC or not, that do content or take content seriously. Many people just do outbound emails or whatever it is, and sometimes it works. But I personally believe content is sort of this magic wand. It's infinitely scalable. Mm-hmm. For B2C, it's very powerful. How did you arrive, I guess, at the same conclusion? Where does that come from for you guys? How do you think about your content strategy? If you can talk about some of the results, because I think today it's a big chunk of your customers that come from that. But yeah, what's your vision? How did you arrive at that conclusion, and how do you think about content daily?
I talk about going forward, but how we got started was we got started with content very early, and everyone's giving me advice, do content, like do it now, like everyone's giving that advice now. But we started almost like the first product ship, the first research ship, product ship, whatever, was we shipped content. That's how we got it to the hands of people, right? That was almost 2 years ago. I follow, to build a startup, I really think you only have to do 3 things. Like make something, tell people about it, and then iterate. Yeah. So in the early days, if you can't tell people, how do you tell people about it, right? Like content, like either go and knock on 100 doors or you make one piece of content and hope, even if it reaches 100 views, which is nothing, you've reached 100 people.
Yeah. People don't realize that. People do 100 views and they're disappointed. Oh, it's not And on the global stage, it's not big.
Go knock on 100 doors.
Yeah, if you have 100 people in front of you, like that's good.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
it's not bad. And you always start from somewhere, and once you start to play with the algorithms, like it's not a go-to-market strategy. Like you can't think of it as like going viral is not a strategy.
Yeah.
Because it's like collective conscious that's just moving around and shifting. You don't know what's going to pick up, what's not. But it's just shots on target, right? And it, like you put 10 shots on target, one of them will pick up. And you start to figure out what works, what doesn't work, how is my messaging working, how do I want to reach this type of user when I'm actually acquiring this type of user and they're not exactly my ICP. Like if you're iterating on content is just like iterating on code. Like how do you get to the point where you're starting to build these systems that create leverage? That's it.
But I think iterating on content is harder than iterating on code, because code is pretty binary. It doesn't work or it does, and at some point you've got a good enough code that works and you can ship it. Content, the sort of problem is there's so much content. You're doing content, I'm doing content, everyone's doing content. You can have a very decent piece of content and still not get the views that you think you deserve. And you have to be even better, like you have to outcompete other people. And again, you've been doing this pretty well. Your content is doing really well. You've been iterating. What's the secret sauce?
I would say, code is binary, but product is not. Right?
That's true.
So iterating on the product is also a thing. You make something that nobody wants, and you can make content that no one wants. And both are equally as useless.
Yeah.
And you don't know that someone doesn't want it until you show it to somebody and they say, I don't want it. Right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing way around. Like, how do you compete in content? Just be yourself. No one can outcompete you. Like whatever content that you're good at or whatever comes out authentic on camera is exactly what people are going to tune in to watch. And like for us, like we're a storyteller. We're helping storytellers. So we have to tell good stories ourselves, right? So how do we tell good stories? Like I'm not trying to outcompete Mr. Beast. I just want to figure out how do I tell these like small stories. And frankly, how do I tell people that don't be afraid of AI? Like, what would you do if you had a VFX studio in your pocket? Like you say to a creator, AI, and they're freaking out. But you give them the opposite side is like, what if you could do what Marvel did, and you could do it in, $100?
In 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Do you personally, as the CEO, spend a lot of time thinking about content, and do you think it's your role? Or do you just leave this to other people? Because I know you have a team of people helping you doing content. You're pretty visible in the content yourself, but does that come from a lot of your brain and thinking about it, or is it just a team doing it for you?
It's kind of both. It goes back and forth. I wish I could spend more. That is going to be my job. Like I think chief of marketing, whatever that is it's got to be my job to put forth the vision, and the vision comes through the content. And like explaining to people how to use it, all of that like is very important. I'm chief janitor, so I have to just pick up what everything is left off, which is what it is. But I also have we have a great team. We have a great founding team. We have a lot of breadth across us. So I'm really good at just like fighting the fires, and I have to fight the fires. And I like finding good people to help run the content engine and build content as an engine it's not an easy task. It's actually something that only like Hollywood and some of these other very content heavy industries have figured out. As someone in technology, like an engineer, it's not the same thing as building like an engineering org. You're literally building like a studio, which is a very different dynamic. It's fun. It's a cool problem, though.
It's interesting because I think there's a commonality between what we're doing, content, but there's also another big player that you and I know very well about that's all in on content, and that's YC.
True.
Someone said recently, I don't remember which podcast, that YC is not an incubator, it's actually a YouTube channel with an incubator attached to it. And I thought that was pretty fun. Their YouTube channel is like close to 2 million, I think, subscribers. It's just insane, the content they're producing. Of course, now they have Gary Tan. Gary himself has a pretty big personal YouTube channel, and I'm pretty sure it helped him along the way to raise, initialized and to become CEO of YC. And so just getting inspired by the best, I see YC doing really well with that. I see you guys doing really well with that. I'm obviously the the runner-up in that world. I'm just, not where you guys are yet, but I'm trying to get there as well. And I just want to give one piece of practical advice to our listeners as well is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you just have a dude following you full time, following you around with a camera and just capturing everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. And that was, I don't know if it was pioneer, but it reminds me of Gary Vee in New York who was doing this. And that's just amazing because we see sort of day in the life of, and mm-hmm. there's always some new exciting stuff. Of course, I'm sure there's some very dull days that are not included, but like that's his story. He's a storyteller. He has to craft intrigue. And so that's just a practical thing for you guys. If you think you have some cool stuff to show, just hire someone to follow you around and do that. I haven't done that yet. But
I'd say it's not that easy. We got really lucky.
Sure.
We got really, really lucky early. He was the first, he was the first hire pretty much.
Wow.
And
that's how seriously you take content. Like first hire these guys. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. If you can't, we could build stuff. We're good builders. But if we can't distribute it, then what's the whole point of it? Yeah. And I think it's not just about, get someone to follow you around and record content. The story is made.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. The stories, people don't really understand this. They understand it in Hollywood a lot. And I've been thinking a lot about Hollywood for the wrong reasons, but people understand this in YouTube as well. But the story is not told just because you captured it.
Yeah.
Like just because you vlog it or you have it on film somewhere, it's not really like a story.
It's not enough.
It's made in post. Like stories are made in post production.
Yeah.
And that's like 95% of the effort, and it's 95% of the creativity. Like capturing is one thing, but figuring out how to tell the story in post is like really hard.
And so that's the same person for you guys that does that actually shoots. And so what you're saying is actually, I said have a guy to follow you around, but then have a guy to spend 95% of his time in post figuring out the story. Yeah. You said now you want to figure out other forms of acquisitions. It seems content is going really well. One thing I love about content is it's almost infinitely scalable. It can just scale with you. The more content you produce, the bigger your audience grows. Why do you feel the need to go into other directions when this is working really well for you?
It's more about doubling down on content. Okay. So we can produce content ourselves, but it's actually better if we have, we have a lot of people using us. Like, why aren't they posting about us?
Yeah.
They are, but how do I make them a part? Like, how do I leverage us as a distribution channel for their work?
Yeah.
And now other artists and other creators and other people are just seeing, this is what people are building with Sync, this is what people are making with Sync. I want to be a part of that. Yeah. So it's more about community and relationship building. And I see that as a separate channel than just like your content engine itself. Like you make content, you help other people make content, you leverage your distribution to get them reach, but at the same time, their reach also feeds back to you. There's your funnel.
It's interesting. You're sort of adding another layer. You say it's completely separate, which it is, but it's still in the content world. That's how important content is. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for this piece on this segment. Content is something you do extremely well, so I'm very curious. I want to move on to something slightly different. Everyone talks about AI generated videos, and of course, your whole thing is to talk about AI modified videos, and you're saying AI modified is much better than AI generated, which today is very obvious. AI generated videos are not always great. They're getting better. So are you worried about that? If they get better, then maybe AI generated becomes better than AI modified. But can you talk about how you see those two concepts evolving together over time?
I think if you understand how content is made, you're not really ever going to be afraid of that happening. Because even if you have the best camera in the world, like video generation is a new form of input. You're creating, like you can capture something with a camera, or you can generate something from a prompt. And you have this base, but the story is not told yet. Like there is no story. And you can create these clips, you can do whatever you want. All of the storytelling is in post, which means when you start to put these clips together, or when you start to actually tell the story, you're never always gonna be, oh, this is the perfect shot from day one. Like you need to do color grading. Like you need to do all these tasks in any traditional pipeline today. And the same thing is true with the future of, if you're gonna build like a movie or whatever it is with a lot of AI generated content, you're not gonna, like, you may have the perfect shot minus a couple of things. Like, you may have the perfect gesture, the perfect dialogue, but a couple of things in that shot are just not right. You need ability to edit in post. Like, and it doesn't make sense to reprompt and regenerate over and over again because it's too risky. Like, you're gonna lose other things that you might have liked about that video. You need more control.
Is that a direction you guys want to go? Because right now, if I said something wrong, I can edit it with sync. But like you said, if some piece of the content is wrong, I realize in post, but it doesn't have anything to do with what I said.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe this person needs to be removed, or we need to add decor or whatever. Like, is this a direction you guys want to move into as well?
There's a lot of things that you can do. Now, if you say in 5 years where I want to be, yeah, I want to solve for all of the posts, right? Every edit it needs to be very intentional. And if you're gonna edit humans, for example, like me and you have very different speaking styles. Like, we have our different emotions, like how we express things, how we say things differently. We're focused on how do you capture that personality, how do you edit characteristics of how people behave. Because one, that's a research problem on its own. Like, relating a person's style, their personality, how they behave, being able to conditionally generate, and is a separate problem than like trying to do a product placement. Yeah. So that's where the future is headed. But at the same time, like, we're very good at this. Like, we're very good at learning specific styles, generalizing across speakers, embedding personalities, like moving past the uncanny valley.
And what's interesting is, for sort of all the rest where it doesn't involve humans, it's probably very much easier to correct, even in post-production, with maybe reprompting or maybe stock footage or whatever it is. If there's no conversations happening, it's so much easier to edit. If you need to add a horse, you just find you can add a horse pretty easily because the horse doesn't speak, doesn't have a style. Mm-hmm. But when it's human and conversation, which is 99% of storytelling, if you think of Hollywood, or it's people talking to each other, having emotions. It's just a landscape. It's not very interesting, probably. And so this is the most difficult part that you're solving for first, and the rest can just move away.
I think there's a lot to do even here, but yeah. Like, you can replace like VFX product. Like, I mean, you traditionally have to rig up a character in order to get and have an actor act and then place a character on top of them.
Yeah.
Like, how do you create Thanos, right? Yeah. Like, there's so many traditional techniques that people use that are very expensive. Like, those are the types of things that we want to focus on. Yeah.
Very cool. Moving on to a little bit of a broader view of the market, we see so many AI video companies. There's a new one every day, and most of them are focused on AI generated content, but not all of them. And now we see people expanding their scope, or like maybe it's just AI generated video, but it's going to help you with scripting, with post, etc. What do you think is the biggest mistake that those companies do? Because I see a lot of clones of each other, but nothing similar to what you guys are building at Sync. Probably they don't have the tech and the know-how. What do you think is the biggest mistake in that space that you're seeing so far?
I think a lot of people, it's really easy to acquire a lot of users too early by using paid channels.
Yeah.
Like, just running a bunch of ads and saying, it's easy to promise the world because anyone who's using these tools knows where the limitations are, but it's very easy to promise the world. Like, for example, agentic video editor, just type in a prompt and get exactly the video you want. It's like the easiest thing to sell. Yeah. And everyone, if you don't have a free tier or whatever it is, and you just like run ads and then people have to pay you $5 or whatever it is, and in a short amount of time you find that one ad or that one message that works, that one channel, you drive a bunch of users, are they going to retain? But in like 30 days you can say, oh, I have 3 million in ARR. Yeah. What is 30 days of revenue extrapolated? I mean, does that make sense? Like,
that's a big problem with a lot of those AI companies. Not only in the video space, it's high promise, great numbers, and then insane churn, which is not your case at all. By the way, you guys have insane retention, and so. But what do they get wrong? Why do people churn? It's just they overpromise, underdeliver. But what's the problem here? How can they be better?
Well, they overpromise, and then it's fine. I think, like, again, make something, tell people about it, and iterate. So it's fine. Just like get people to use the product. If they churn, that's fine. Talk to them, figure out what worked, what didn't work. But the problem is when you're running paid, and then you start to like tell people about these numbers, and now you have to keep up this sustained growth, which means, you know, your acquisition cost is actually fairly high. You might be returning now, but like every channel that you have has diminishing ROI over time. So are you really, do you have a future? Are you building for the future? Or are you just trying to rack up a bunch of like cash now and then just have a dead business in 5 months or 6 months?
It's interesting. Again, the best advice, I believe, is just so simple. And so what you just said is if this is your case, just go and talk to your users. It's so simple, but that's key. You know, make something people want and just talk to them. You just said something, and I agreed, because for paid, all of your channels have diminishing returns. I was just thinking for organic content, it might not be the case. It might be expanding over time because your content base grows and grows and grows. Do you think organic content has a diminishing returns as well? Or I probably think that that's not the case. What do you think?
There's nuance. So organic content also has diminishing returns if you are not iterating on the content. So the content has to always get better and better and better and better, or be different and different and different and different in different ways. So it's not something where it's like, hey, I got this format and it just works. I'm just going to produce it forever, because it's going to, like, people are going to get bored. So you have to innovate in the same way you innovate with product. And once you build your channel, like your YouTube channel or your Twitter or whatever, distribution is king. Like if people are paying attention to you, then as soon as you create something new and interesting, they'll watch it again. But it is diminishing. Like you can never just think of, I have one format and it's just gonna work.
It's very interesting because YouTube, I've been publishing on YouTube since 2017 and follow in French at the time, but it's not that like Hollywood. I think the recipes that make a good Hollywood movie haven't changed almost in 50 years. Like if you take blockbusters, it's pretty much always the same thing. And we see them, we recognize, oh, this is the love story, this is the bad guy, this is the cliffhanger moment where, oh, it's so desperate, the hero's gonna die, but we know the hero's not gonna die, blah, blah, blah. And it's always the same recipe. And with YouTube, if you go back 2 years, it's so different what works and what doesn't.
Absolutely.
Which makes it even more difficult. You have to keep up all the time. You don't have like you said, a single format that's going to work forever. It takes even it's more difficult for you.
Well, I think every story does have a structure. So if you take that example, like Hollywood, think about like the Odyssey, right? Like we're in 2,000 years ago.
The hero's journey. Right?
Exactly. There is a structure to these things, and Harry Potter follows the same structure as like Odysseus, right? Like this is what it is. That doesn't mean that's not like, it still needs to be interesting. And if you go 10 years back on YouTube, it's just a bunch of like cat videos or just like a bunch of really low-hanging fruit, but it was fun and entertaining. Now it's very high production. There's a lot of like very high production stuff that's going out. Again, for Hollywood, it's like they have this saying, which is, we don't make films, we make movies. And so movies make money, but films are like art, and they show, like, they tell a story. So there's always like that contention as well. There's like the business side, and then there's like the creative side, which is probably true for YouTube. That's probably true for every creative industry, like for music too. Like,
it's interesting. You could go the route on YouTube of making big productions and just make money with YouTube ads, because people just pay for in movies, you just pay for your movie seat, and that's how you make money. And so if you just want to make something, that's Mr. Beast, just like you said, you just want to make the most viewable content that's going to rack millions and millions of views, and you get paid by that. That's not what you want. You want people targeted. You don't want a mass audience that are interested, that are going to convert into customers. And so you're making more films than movies then, if I'm reading correctly.
Well, I have like a thesis on where this is going, and maybe, we'll see 2 years from now wherever this goes. But it's all about like content has always just been on distribution. Like if you think about books and like the printing press, like they changed the whole game because you could distribute it everywhere. And then now you can distribute books everywhere. It's like a very small minority of books take all of the share of revenue, but more books are being told, and generally knowledge goes up because Like even a small book is a niche thing for one person. Like not everyone's gonna read a medical scribe, which is also true for YouTube, right? It's and YouTube versus Hollywood. Like there's tens of thousands of scripts that are written every year. Only maybe 1,000 productions actually get funded and stories get told, and that's how the studio system is a distribution mechanism. Now imagine for YouTube, where the future is, like content teams are getting smaller, just like startups are getting smaller, like sizes are getting smaller, and if a small team can do, can produce extremely high quality content, and small teams will be producing the best content. And then in a future where distribution is just algorithms are sending this content to the right people, even if, like, let's say you have like a TikTok or you have like a YouTube video that only reaches 100K views versus Mr. Beast's 50 million, you still have 100K views.
That's a lot.
You have a lot of people who are like, it's about taking the best stories and algorithms will drive them to the right people. And it's not always about like the highest number of views. It'll be quality of views as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, small amounts of content, like small teams are going to produce the best content. The best content we distribute to everyone or get distributed to the right people. And we'll find these monetization structures that just work really well.
You talked about being sort of surprised. You didn't even know in advance what people would use your tool for. You have this pull from the market. You're also somehow a research lab, or you have a research arm in what you're building. And so how do you decide what to build next? What signals are you looking for in the middle of all of this noise and all of this sort of, you have so much content being built with what you're doing. So how do you decide where to go? What's the decision mechanism there?
Talk to your users.
Okay.
But
don't they all say different things?
Yeah, but you can tend to find there's like product, there's like features and there's things that people want, but there's also there's capabilities that they don't have they wish they had. And those are the highest leverage things. At least like we train models. We have the ability to design what the output of the model, the inputs, the outputs, how fast the model is, as well as how what the product interface looks like, which means end to end, what are the workflows that people wish they could do that they can't today? And what are the limitations with the existing workflows that we have? I think for us it's very self-evident what to work on next, because once you solve for example, you solve for lips, then you start to see like facial expressions or like gestures or whatever other things.
Voice as well, or?
We don't solve for audio today.
I know, but is that the next obvious? For me, it's sort of one next obvious thing, but you didn't mention. You said expressions and gestures, so voice is not a next obvious thing?
We'll focus on video. We won't focus on audio generation, because there's plenty of great teams that are working on
I was going to say, maybe it already exists.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's excited to see it come true. Let's move on to our last part, which is sort of, future bets, how tomorrow will look like. If we project ourselves 5 years from now, what do you think is the typical video production workflow for small content teams? What does it look like?
Still trying to figure that out. The traditional answer would have been you hire a ton of people who are very specialized in one direction, and then you have a project manager that just runs the whole content through every stage. And he has some fundamentals that are true across different stages that everyone, it's like a protocol, you have to adhere to it. What is the mezzanine data structure or data format is what's the base data format that everyone's going to use, so that once we pass it from one stage to another, we're just going to preserve all the characteristics. There's a lot of these protocols that you have to figure out. For a smaller and smaller content team, it's more about, okay, how, it feels to me less like an assembly line, and it feels to me more like jazz, where everyone's really good in one specific direction, there's overlap, and people just kind of pick things up and then move things forward in their own way. At least that's how this, today it feels. I don't know how that will evolve. Maybe there will be more structure as the tools get more precise as well. Because everyone right now, they have their favorite workflows. They have their way of prompting their styles. So it is jazz. Everyone has their own way of doing things. once we have more controls, maybe it'll teeter back to like, okay, we can create content in this assembly line. But generally, taste is like the limiting factor. So everyone on the team just needs taste, and if you have small, highly agentic, talented team of people who are creative and just focused on doing something, then that's like the production process today.
It's very interesting. It reminds me of what YC has said very recently. I think it was Aaron Epstein who said designers should be founders because designers have taste, and you can't replicate or invent or just come up with taste. And he said in the video that it's not random, it's not by no reason that some of the biggest YC companies, Airbnb, Stripe, Coinbase, are known for their amazing designs and UX UI. What you're saying, and I completely agree, is content is another dimension where taste really applies, is really needed. And very few people are talking about that. But I think it's sort of maybe the next frontier. We've talked extensively here about content and how important it is. And that's where you need taste. So you need a bunch of people with taste building something together. That was your answer, and I agree with that. Do you think at the beginning of your answer, you said each of them is very specialized, has a lane, but then you said it's jazz, everyone sort of improvises together. Do you think with AI tools, everyone actually becomes full stack content producers, empowered with AI?
I think the same way as like everyone's going to become a full stack engineer. Like, yeah, I mean, you're going to have your preferences and what you're good at and what you're not, but at the end of the day, if you like, you're just going to understand the whole process end to end. You'll be able to do something everywhere. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. It's like a full stack content creator.
And that's what Sync could help you become as well.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. Yeah, 100%, right? It's like, I want you to have more creative direction in post. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. What scares you about what you're building?
This is a conversation I'm having more and more frequently now, as the models get better. So now there's like kind of two fears. One is, what if someone makes something that they shouldn't, and no one can tell that it's actually different than what would be the original. That's something that we got to figure out.
Are we there yet? Because I think we're extremely close, aren't we? Yeah.
For lip sync, we're there. I mean, we're pretty much like you could do a lot of stuff where people can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean like one, there's like obvious safeguards, so you can digital watermarking, so anything that's related to the metadata, or you can make sure that at least this video, when processed, you can tell that it was touched by AI, which is kind of the bare minimum. Now, like beyond the technical safeguards, like what are the, like how, for me, like where's the regulation gonna land on this? And people are talking about these like deep fake, like there's actually a law that passed in California. It's a good one, and it's basically saying like there's a deep fake takedown notice. So anything that's like revenge porn or something bad, not anywhere near what we're doing, but like we can't really be used for that, which is good.
Yeah.
But a normal video model can.
Yeah.
Like if you fine tune WAN on a bunch of porn, like you could theoretically generate it if you wanted to. And you can generate it with someone's likeness or face or whatever. So I'm kind of afraid of that side of the content world, because these tools are really powerful and in the wrong hands can be used for a lot of bad, actually. Like that's actually the reason why Sora is not as good as it is and it took forever to release, because they're just afraid of that exact reason. So that is definitely one fear. Like the net good will, the opposite side, every piece of content like education, Stanford lecture, whatever, is now available instantaneously in every language around the world to anyone. Language is no longer a barrier.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Positives, and then there's the negatives.
Yeah. And you have nothing, like you cannot be used for porn, and it's a good thing, less risk and less stuff for you to worry about. But I could also argue that you're in a much more riskier category of changing speech of any president or world leader. If there's a video of an American president or a candidate to an election that says the wrong thing and it's lip synced, or it could be the president saying, we just got a nuclear bomb from Russia, hide, and blah blah blah. Like, it could be dramatic as well. It's different category than revenge porn, but it's still, and this you're especially useful for potentially. Is this like political speech going on social media? Is this something specifically that you're worried about, or?
It's easy to stop. I mean, we do, like, for us, it's easy to stop. I would say I'm not as worried about that specifically because Twitter, for example, there's safeguards.
Yeah.
Like, you'll have community notes. Like, there's things that are in place, and more and more safeguards will be built.
Independently of of the model.
Yeah. One thing that is dangerous, not just with us, but also with audio generation, is like, let's say you get a voice agent that calls you, and it sounds like your granddaughter.
Yeah.
And
I'm in trouble. I need you to wire me money. That exists already.
It does. Yeah.
And so tomorrow with Sync, it could be an
like
actual FaceTime or
That is definitely something that is concerning. So we got to think about ways to make it clear that this is like not.
Well, I think on this particular thing, people will need to get educated. It's just like today when you get a call from the bank. It's not a FaceTime, but the bank says, "Oh, you've been hacked. Give me." And people now are starting to get educated and realize, well, I need to hang up and call back from the number that I know to make sure. So it's going to be the same with FaceTime. Like, oh, is it really you, mom? Like, let me hang up and actually call my mom. And people will get scammed, yes, but then it's not as big of a risk as, starting nuclear war. So, that's part of life. Okay, that was the risks and what scares you. What you're building, you're really at the frontier of what's possible and pushing the envelope. Are there some things that you wish you could do that still feel absolutely impossible or out of reach today?
I don't know about impossible or out of reach. Can I say, like, out of reach is a good way, maybe? So just like right beyond the place that we can focus on today. There's a lot of interesting problems to solve for, and I wish we could focus on more of them at any given moment. And there's kind of like a two-way thing. So you can't put research on a timeline because you never know which experiment's going to actually work, which means your only option is to just run more experiments. Which means you just need more compute, and you need more hands to like run them and monitor them. And you have good talent, they can run many experiments, but it's like, and it's also about a focus thing, which is if you're focusing on a lot of things, then that one key insight might slip your mind that might just change the game in one direction. So right now we are hyper focused on, lip sync, head generation, like just video workflows for making small adjustments to how people speak, how they behave in video. Do I wish I could focus on things like force alignment and like text? Like, for example, if you have you upload a video, you get a transcript, and now you just edit just a couple of words and then it reflects instantaneously in the video. And then you can do things like condition it or give some sort of like direction to the model, so it's like I want them to be more expressive or less or whatever, and it's perfectly aligned with the audio and the text. Now there's like other problems to go solve. Like you need a really good force alignment model. Like you need a really good like speaker diarization model if you're trying to handle a lot of speakers at once. Like it's like infinite. Like I wish we could just go solve all of them, but today it's like a lot of saying no. Like let's just stick to this thing. Let's make sure that it's really good, and then hopefully other people solve it, or we'll find the next stage. We'll find the time and the resources, and we'll go figure it out.
Yeah, you're right. It is infinite because just on the very small part of the whole post, which is lip sync, you've already been very busy, and now there's this whole entire spectrum that you're opening. So excited to see you build that in the future. To finish here, maybe this is the same answer, and in that case you can just tell me, yeah, this is it, or something else. What are you excited about for Sync in the near future? What's coming? What should people be expecting? What makes you very happy right now?
I'm very happy that we had this gut feeling that video editing is going to be the game changer 2 years ago, and we focused on video to video workflows. What's coming next, I think, is going to blow a lot of people's minds. Like being able to just hallucinate a bunch of things from text into a video is one thing, also taking an image and then generating an infinite, like, I like to call it hallucinating because it is what it is. Like, you're taking an image, you're putting in an audio, and then you're creating a video, which are two lower dimensional inputs, and you're just like creating a bunch of high dimensional inputs. Taking an existing video and then only editing a couple aspects of it to change the actual content itself, not just like color grading or whatever, really hard problem. We had a big breakthrough, and I think everyone is going to be really excited for it. It's a challenge of just putting it into production now, which is its own task, and it's going to happen pretty soon. So
because you guys ship super fast, I know it has to happen very soon. Okay, awesome. So where can people try Sync? What's the website? Where can they follow you?
Sync.so, and then
so that's SYNC, right? .so.
SYNC, yep. Sync.so, that's our website, and then follow us at Twitter, synclabs_so.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I had a great time.
Yeah, this is fun. This was
Awesome.
cool.
Thank you very much. To our listeners, if you're still here, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you so much, and see you next week.